Hey guys, I'm back doing another video. Here is chapter 19 from the Losers Club. Hope you were able to listen to chapter 18, and this is how we'll continuously do this. So here we go. Chapter 19 is called Nonfiction. Alec rode his bicycle along Ash Street as night was falling on a chilly Friday evening in September. He had passed Kent's house, and he was halfway down the next block. 4 more blocks and one left turn, and he would almost be at Nina's driveway. And then what happens? That part wasn't totally clear, and Alec felt like he should probably slam on the brakes, turn his bike around, and pedal back home as fast as he could. But he kept going. This plan had hatched right after dinner. It was Friday night, and a good one, too. He had gotten all 9s and 10s on his first end-of-week report card, so he was safe from the homework dungeon for another week. But Alec hadn't felt like watching a movie with everyone else in the family room, so he walked upstairs and flopped onto his bed and started to read, just like he'd done 1,000 times before. But tonight, he couldn't get a certain conversation out of his mind. A conversation he almost wished he hadn't overheard. But he had overheard it because he had listened to it on purpose. That had been earlier in the day, right at the start of extended day. He had stopped at the door of the gym to double-check with Mrs. Case about the open house in October because he was starting to worry about that. He had told Nina he was going to take care of the whole thing, and it was a promise he really wanted to keep. Mrs. Case had been relieved that he was finally taking the open house seriously. As I already mentioned, the principal asked if we could talk about extended day right before there were refreshments at the end of the regular open house, so our open house probably won't start till around 8 o'clock. I'm thinking somewhere between 400 and 500 kids and parents and teachers will be here in the gym. Mrs. Vance said she's planning on refreshments for 550, just in case. It's going to be quite an event. Mrs. Case confirmed that the open house was October 20th, then added, which is still more than a month away, so that's good. But the basic guidelines haven't changed, and you can find them on page 30 of the informational booklet. Here's my copy. Just put it back on the table when you're done with it. Alec had been about to say, no thanks, but off to his left he heard Nina's voice in the hallway, and then Kent's. So he had opened Mrs. Case's program booklet, stuck his nose in it, and pretended to read as he listened with all of his might. Yeah, so I'm coming over to shoot some hoops tonight. You gonna be around? As usual, Kenneth sounded very cool, very smooth. Probably, said Nina. Richie said some guys might show up tonight. He's hoping for a game. There was a smile in Kent's voice. So how about after the game, maybe you and me work on your shooting some more? I think you could probably get onto the girls' b-ball team at the middle school next year. Really? Alec could tell Nina had loved that idea, and Kent knew it too. No kidding. You've got natural talent. If you worked hard, maybe in high school you could even be a starter. I can't wait for the next year. 7th grade is when sports really start to matter, you know. Basketball, soccer, baseball. I want to do everything. It's going to be awesome. The way Kent had turned the conversation back to a celebration of his own wonderfulness made Alec groan, but Nina hadn't seemed to notice. She'd said, so yeah, I'll see you tonight, okay? Great, catch you later. And that had been the end of Alec's eavesdropping. But sitting near Nina at their table for the rest of Friday afternoon, all he had been able to think about was Nina and Kent playing basketball in the moonlight. He knew it was a silly image, but he couldn't get out of his head. So what, am I going to sit around and read adventure stories tonight? That's the first question Alec had asked himself as he lay on his bed thinking about all this after dinner. But he hadn't stopped there. He had kept on asking himself questions. I've read all these books about these amazing heroes who do incredible things, people who fight for honor and glory and patriotism and love. So what about me? Do I just sit around while Kent grabs all the attention? And then one last thought sealed the deal and got him up off his bed and out the door. Well, if Kent can just ride over to Nina's house at any time he feels like it, then I can too. When Alex wheeled around the corner onto Hardy Avenue, right away you could hear a basketball bouncing and guys calling to each other as he saw the bright lights of the court from 3 houses away. As he came even with the driveway, Alex saw that the backboard was mounted on the garage roof, a two-car garage, off to the side and set back from the front of the house. It was a nice wide court, and the three-point arc and the free-throw line had been painted onto the asphalt. A row of floodlights mounted on the side of the house threw out lots of light. There were 4 guys, a 2-on-2 game. Kent was teamed up with a kid a little taller than he was, but the other boy had narrower shoulders and a slimmer build. One look at that kid when the light was right, and Alec was sure it was Nina's brother Richie. He knew Nina's face by heart, and this boy's eyes and chin looked just like hers. The other 2 guys weren't athletes. Alex saw that right away. The one with blonde hair was wearing a black t-shirt and jeans, and his shoes were all wrong for basketball. But he could shoot pretty well from in close, so he just kept backing up toward the basket, using muscle instead of skill, and then he'd turn and try for a short shot. The blonde guy mostly ignored his teammate. He was a little shorter, with a mop of dark hair and a wide face. Alec could hear him panting, and he kept calling, "I'm open, over here, I'm open." He had his hoodie zipped up, and he was sweating like crazy, his face flushed and splotchy. Kent fit right in, even though he was obviously the youngest kid out there. Whenever he got the ball, he was fierce, and he had great moves and ball handling skills. He could drive straight to the hoop and lay it up, or he could work the edges and feed perfect passes to Richie. Alec wasn't really a basketball fan, but he had a great book about LeBron James and another one about Steph Curry. He understood a lot more about the game than he could ever try to do. Alec stood there straddling his bike on the sidewalk at the end of the driveway, but it had gotten pretty dark, and he was beyond the lights on the court. The players inside that brightness didn't even notice him. He watched for a few minutes, but then the blonde kid batted a pass toward the street, and as Kent chased it, he almost fell over Alec's bike. "Whoa, sorry, didn't see you." Then Kent blinked, and he saw who it was. A big grin spread across his face. He got the ball, then grabbed the handlebar of Alec's bike and pulled it forward about 10 feet onto the lit part of the driveway. And Alec had no choice but to stumble along forward with his bike. "Hey guys, check it out. This is my old buddy Alec, the bookworm. Looks like his mommy let him come out and play tonight, because he's usually tucked in with his blankie and his bedtime story by now. Right, Alec?" Alec was surprised at the sharpness of the teasing. Kent had seemed almost friendly the past few days. Right away he realized that Kent was showing off for his older friends. But knowing that didn't make him any less angry. He stepped off his bike, and Kent tossed to the driveway, hard. Alec's hands clamped into fists. His stomach tightened. His breathing got shallow. He had a coppery taste in his mouth as he ripped off his helmet and dropped it to the ground. The rear tire on his bike was slowly spinning, and Alex stepped around it and looked Kent in the eye. He had never had a fight before, not a real one, not until now. As Alec came another step closer, Kent stopped grinning and took a quick step back. Kent had been in a fight once, and he could see what was coming. Alec felt like a strange light was glowing all around them, and Kent's face lit up like a Halloween mask with long shadows stretching off behind him, and he, "Hey, Alec, hi! How come you didn't tell me you were coming over? Did you just get here?" Alec spun around and saw Nina. She slammed the back door of a car and trotted over next to him, all smiles. Alec saw 2 other people in the front seats, her mom and dad. Alec turned for a quick look at Kent, and when the car headlights turned off, the weird shadows around him went away. Richie walked over and said, "Hi, Alec. Nina told me about you 2 starting the club. Nice to meet you." "Thanks," Alec said. "Good to meet you, too." Richie had a friendly smile, and Alec liked him right away. Nina said, "So, can you come inside, or did you come to play basketball?" "Yeah," Kent said. "How about we shoot a game of horse, or maybe a game of bookworm, which is more fun because it's a longer word so you won't lose quite as fast." Alec bent down to get his helmet, pulled it on, and then picked up his bike. He completely ignored Kent and spoke only to Nina. "Thanks, but I was just riding by and stopped to say hi. I should head home before it gets totally dark, so I'll see you on Monday." "Okay," she said. "See you Monday." Alec thought she seemed disappointed, but he shoved off anyway. It was a slow ride home. Alec barely saw the street, hardly noticed as he pedaled and braked and rounded the corners. And as he turned into his driveway and walked his bike to the garage, he realized something. All that stuff he'd said to himself back in his bedroom about him stepping up to go fight for honor and glory and love, all that stuff was nothing but fiction. It was like he had started writing it out in his head, a chapter in his very own adventure novel, with him playing the hero, and then he had set off on his bicycle to act it out. He hadn't told his parents he was leaving, so he crept into the house and then tiptoed upstairs to his room. When he had the door shut, he flopped back onto his bed and reviewed it again. The whole make-believe mess. But as he lay there, he held up his hands and looked at them. He clenched them into fists and remembered exactly how he felt when Kent had thrown his bike onto the ground. He remembered exactly how the bike's back wheel had made this little tick-tick-tick-tick-tick as it slowly turned. And he remembered exactly how it felt, how his feet had felt as he had stepped around his bike and then looked Kent right in the eye. 3 moments of perfect clarity, complete in every detail. His trip to Nina's house had definitely started out like fiction, almost like a dream. But then he had actually done things. And as he did them, he became the owner of a collection of interlocking moments. Moments that belonged only to him. And those moments were not fiction. On that Friday night, Alec didn't read, didn't even think about books for at least a half an hour. A long time for him. He lay there quietly on his bed, thinking about his life. All of it. All right, that's the end of chapter 19. Hope to see you guys for chapter 20. Thanks.